This is Kutztown Live, Kutztown University's campus and community radio magazine, with regular guest segments with the Northeast Berks Chamber of Commerce. More information can be found on our Kutztown University Radio website. And now, from the studios of Kutztown University Radio, Kutztown Live.
Welcome to Kutztown Live here on the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR. And with me in the studio today, virtually, we have our reoccurring guest, Lori from the Northeast Berks Chamber of Commerce, and she is here with her guest of the week. So, Lori, take it away.
All right. Thank you so much, Mike. I'm so pleased to be here today on another snow day, which is becoming quite common here in Berks County. I want to remind everyone that if you're looking for information about the Northeast Berks Chamber of Commerce, now in our 32nd year of doing business in the area, please visit our website at northeastberkschamber.com. We've been gradually making some changes to the website, and one example is that we are now publishing all the links to these podcasts with our chamber member interviews to our Google Calendar. So if you're a member who has not yet been interviewed on Kutztown Live, please check out some of the podcasts and contact me at ldg@northeastberkschamber.com. Next month, we'll be looking to roll out some new programs for the members, and we'll be partnering, as we've mentioned for the last few broadcasts, with Kutztown University College of Business on several panel programs during Entrepreneurial Leadership Week, which is the week of March 24th. One that I'll be involved in is the women's panel. I'll be moderating a group of 4 women entrepreneurs, and all that programming, all the workshops and special sessions are offered free to the public and will be fully virtual this year. So go to kutztown.edu, Entrepreneurial Leadership Week, or northeastberkschamber.com to find those details. Today, I'm very pleased to introduce our guest, Liz Egner of the Liz Egner Group at RE/MAX, over here on broadcasting, right, Liz?
Correct.
Right near my house, where I am right now. And Liz is a brand new member of the Northeast Berks Chamber. She joined in January, so welcome to the Chamber, Liz.
Thank you.
And we have some interesting conversation ahead of us today. Why don't you tell us about yourself and your career before real estate?
Well, prior to being in real estate, I was a teacher, brand new teacher. I was from Philadelphia, Delaware County area, and got a job at Wummelsdorf in Robizonia area at the Conrad Weiser School District. So I taught health and physical education to little children. I ran an environmental camp with a colleague of mine with high school kids and 6th graders. And then I coached field hockey and basketball. So I used to live at school in the gym, and now I live in my car driving around.
Oh my gosh. I just want to share a quick entertaining story about Liz. I'm just getting to know Liz. And Liz, you and I are also in Women Excelling, the Reading Berks chapter of ABWA. And recently you gave a short presentation, and it was probably one of the most interesting and creative presentations because of all the paraphernalia that you packed into a suitcase. And that's how I learned about your career as a teacher and a phys ed teacher and your love of exercise. So I did learn that about you so far. So how did you transition from education into real estate?
That's rather interesting. I really thought I would be teaching all my life and kind of transition into college and maybe coaching in college. I got my master's degree in education. And then after a while, I think I just got a little bored with the structure of it. You know, boom, the bell rings, next class, boom, the bell rings. And my husband ran an excavation company and worked with builders. And in the summer, I ran camps for kids and I helped him. So I'd be, in and out of real estate offices and talking to builders and delivering paperwork to people. And I thought, wow, this is certainly a lot of variety here. So cold turkey, after 13 years of teaching, I decided I'm doing this. So I thought I'd jump into real estate, and I did. And I remember telling the folks I taught with, they couldn't believe I was leaving. And because it was really like a family there, I enjoyed it, but it was just time to go. And that was 33 years ago.
Well, that's amazing because that was another transition in your life. You know, we've had this long-term pandemic, which is a life transition for all of us, but we've all faced life transitions before. And even when you go in a positive direction, which clearly you did, there's always that sense of loss. And oftentimes it's the people that we work with and have those strong relationships with. Now, I think that, you know, I can speak for many others. Your name is very familiar here in Berks County. I see your sign right at the top of my street as I'm looking out my window. You know, it's interesting, especially in these times, the times of the pandemic, that's changed the way that agents like yourself have operated. And, you know, we know that a real estate agent, like a hairdresser, becomes your friend, your therapist for a really big decision in your life. So how would you characterize that relationship between the agent and the buyer? How does that affect the entire process of buying or selling a home?
I think there's actually two different relationships depending on what part of the transaction you're handling. It's sellers who are selling their home, you know, they want you to protect their equity, you know, walk me through this process. Showing your home is stressful. People are in and out of it. So you become their advisor, you control the stress, you control their expectations, you help them to position their house in the market so they can win a buyer. The buyer, on the other hand, you know, that's a little more fun looking at homes, but it's also, especially if it's a first-time home buyer, they're scared to death. So it's important to meet their expectations and explain the process to them. So we try to get people to prepare prior to putting your home on the market and understand how that works, and then prepare prior to looking at homes and understand how that process is. So it can remove the stress and make it a more enjoyable experience.
Well, it's very clear to see that you made a natural transition from a different type of coaching into this real estate coaching, working with the buyer and seller. And I'm sure you're just great at doing that. Now, it's interesting. We all know, and we just keep hearing it over and over, that the inventory of homes is very low in Berks County. Why is that, Liz? And do we see that changing in the near term?
Okay, so as I said, I've been doing this for 33 years, and I've never been in a market where the inventory was this low. Pre-owned inventory has been low in the past, but we had a lot of new construction to sell. Right now, we don't have a lot of new construction to sell because builders, it's a very long process for a builder to get a piece of land approved and developed. So it can take years, 2 years, 3 years. So we don't have a lot of that here. So we have some new construction, but not a lot to sell. And secondly, the interest rates, which are hovering, if they're 30-year, hovering around 3%, that is driving the market. And the millenniums, you know, finally they got jobs, they have money, they were good, a lot of them were very good savers. So they're leading, they're pushing the market. And it's interesting, instead of buying their first home and spending less, a lot of them are buying the home they really want. They're kind of skipping the first step because the interest rates are so low, they can afford to purchase a higher price point. So it's very interesting. It's a whole different look on the market, and we expect it to continue. Lawrence Young is the NAR economist, and he's saying well into next year and maybe further, because we don't know when this inventory is going to change. We don't see signs of that occurring yet. Now, there may be people that will put their home on the market after the pandemic cools off, because some folks are nervous about people being in their homes. So I do have some people saying, yeah,
right.
we want to wait a little bit.
Well, that's an interesting prediction. I know from talking to a few friends who are realtors, but also just friends who are in my demographic, which is not the millennial, that when they're looking to downsize, you know, when they're already into their mid or later 60s, and they're looking for that ranch home with a 2-car garage, it's impossible to find here, because as soon as they go up for sale, they're sold.
Right. You're right. Yeah, we're trying to actually find them before they hit the market. We have people we know, by calling them and seeing if you know anybody, we may have a buyer already. So we're kind of looking at it at a different way, because you have to be more creative. Exactly.
That leads me to my next question. I know that you really excel at marketing. What are some marketing tactics or tools that you used during the pandemic that may have been different than what you've done in the past?
Yeah, well, all of a sudden in March, boom, we weren't allowed to show homes. We weren't allowed to physically take anybody or meet anybody at a house. So There were a lot of Zoom calls where we could explain the process, share your screen, talk with the buyer, do the same with the seller. We also had sellers going through their home with their iPhones or their video camera, whatever they're using. And then they could email, text that to us. We could share that with the buyer. We had some people buying a home sight unseen. That was a little weird, but they did. Yeah. Now, sometimes that didn't work out because it was sight unseen, but we want to see it when we're allowed to. But right, we kept going. And despite the fact that we lost 2 months of work, our year end was only slightly off. So and that's due to, everybody worked hard, but the interest rates held. So it was interesting. We learned technology, and unfortunately we have a lot of technology here at RE/MAX, and we had the pleasure of learning it at just the perfect time because we sure did need it.
I think we were all on that same learning curve.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Tell me about your team. Who's on your team?
Right now there's myself and 3 realtors, Elaine Galley-Klopp, Tricia Mounts-Bubel, and David DeSombrino. The 4 of us work together. We have an assistant that works just for us, and we have a closing coordinator that we share. So I love teams, obviously. I mean, I coach teams, and as you said, I like coaching, and I like helping other realtors get better. And when you share your knowledge and your work skills, that makes you better. So we share leads. We have some of us live in different parts of the area. Elaine lives in Lancaster. Tricia lives in the Schuylkill Valley School District. David lives in Mount Penn and does some work in Montgomery and Chester County because that's where he's from. So we can cover a broad area and lots of years of experience. So it's fun. I really like working with the team. I worked alone for 10 years. And then after that decided, I traveled to other areas to learn about teams, and until I'm doing that, that's fun. So
I would imagine that keeps the enthusiasm alive working.
It does. And it's accountability too. There's, a lot of salespeople and different, it's hard to get accountability with salespeople sometimes when it's not a corporation, but we meet weekly, and, we want to make sure we help each other do better. So that's cool. And then we market together. We talk about how we're going to do things and set up a plan, and then we run with it.
Liz, why don't you share your contact information with us in case we have listeners who'd like to reach out to you about buying or selling?
Sure. Best place is usually my cell phone, 610-656-9426. You can email me, or I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. You can message me there. My email is Legner, Legner, at Berks, Berks, county.com. Our website is egnergroup.com. We're currently working on that, so that's coming and going right now. We're altering that site. It's got to get changed a little bit. So, but I am on all the social media as well. I have a personal Facebook page, and we have the Liz Egner Group Facebook page. So you can message us there too.
You can't forget that, Legner. I love it. It's so it's catchy. And in closing our interview today, Liz, and again, we appreciate your coming on Kutztown Live. If you could give some sage advice to buyers or sellers about what's happening in the market right now in real estate, what would that advice be?
I think no matter what the market, people need to prepare. If you're looking at next year putting your house on the market, you should begin to prepare now. Meet with a real estate professional, because sometimes people think, oh, I'll do this to my house or that. And maybe that's not the right thing. Maybe you don't need to do it. Staging, decluttering, but we can walk you through that. So get prepared. Same thing with buyers. Get prepared. Get pre-approved. Don't go out and look at homes that you might not be able to afford. Don't make the pitfalls or mistakes you could make being a buyer or seller. If you are prepared and we go through a checklist with you, then when you start again, it's a more pleasant experience, and you position yourself to either sell a home better or buy or purchase a home.
All right. Thanks so much, Liz. I'm sure that there'll be many people that will learn from your advice today, and that you'll be getting some communications from them.
Well, I appreciate it, but kudos to you and the Northeast Chamber. I joined the Chamber, Lori, because of you. I love your leadership and the people in the group, and it's for those listening, if you're not in the Chamber, maybe you should think about that.
Thank you, Liz. That's very kind. Have a great day.
All right, you too.